Something about the way Ben Shephard spoke felt quietly profound the moment the words left his lips. You could sense it, the slight shift in his usual upbeat energy, that rare glimpse behind the polished presenter's smile. On a morning when Good Morning Britain viewers tune in for the familiar warmth and lively chat, Ben offered something deeper, a candid window into his marriage of over 20 years. "We live quite separate lives," he shared, not as a complaint, not as drama, but as a simple, honest reflection on the reality of two people who built a life together while honoring who they are as individuals. It landed differently. Many viewers noticed immediately. In a world where celebrity relationships are often packaged in glossy perfection or splashed across headlines in crisis mode, here was a much-loved ITV face speaking with genuine affection about space, solitude, and the quiet work it takes to make a long marriage feel authentic. No grand gestures, no public declarations that feel performative. Just Ben, reflecting on the woman who's been by his side since before the fame, the early starts, and the bright studio lights. You could almost picture the studio atmosphere softening as he opened up. Ben has always come across as the approachable, energetic one, running marathons in his downtime, bouncing between Tipping Point, this morning, and whatever adventure ITV throws his way. His wife Annie, by contrast, thrives in her own company. She's happy attending to gardens and interior design, visiting art galleries, carving out moments of peace away from the whirlwind of television. "She's much more solitary than me," he explained. "Half the time she's like, 'I need a bit of space. Can you leave me alone for 5 seconds, please?' There's something incredibly relatable in that, isn't there? So many of us watching at home, whether we've been married 5 years or 25, know that push and pull. The love that doesn't demand constant togetherness but finds strength in respecting different rhythms. Some people watching felt a quiet nod of recognition. Others began wondering whether this kind of honesty is exactly what makes certain relationships endure when the spotlight tries to pull everything into the open. While nothing has been confirmed beyond Ben's own words, the moment appeared to hint at a deeper truth about modern partnerships. Sometimes the strongest bonds are the ones flexible enough to breathe. Ben and Annie met at university. They were mates first. Something is credited as a foundation of everything that followed. She's been there through the highs and lows of his career, creating a stable home for their 2 sons, Sam and Jack, now young men stepping into the world. With the boys increasingly independent, Jack heading off traveling, Sam at university, the house is growing quieter. Empty nest territory looms, and Ben spoke about it with that mix of pride and wistful realization many parents will instantly understand. "They make such a mess and eat everything when they're in the house," he joked. "But when they're not there you go, 'Oh, what are we going to talk about now?'" It's in these transitions that the emotional weight hits. Viewers online interpreted the exchange as refreshingly human. Here's a presenter who spent years brightening our mornings, now navigating the same life stage so many of his audience are facing. The subtle change in his voice when he described Annie as the most important factor in our lives as a family, that wasn't scripted television polish. It felt like a man acknowledging the quiet architect of his world. She's never chased the showbiz side. She's stayed grounded, patient, giving him the freedom to chase those physical challenges and early alarm calls while she nurtures at home in her own way. You could feel the respect in how he spoke about their differences. Ben loves the physical, running, golf, throwing himself into new adventures like the summit. Annie prefers galleries and gardens. They live quite separate lives in many practical ways, he admitted, with him often off working and her immersed in her creative world. Yet there's no sense of distance or disconnection in his tone. Instead, it almost seemed as though the spaces allowed their connection to remain genuine. No forced merging of personalities. No pressure to become the same person. Just two, individuals who chose each other and keep choosing, even as life evolves. It's easy to romanticize television marriages, the on-screen chemistry, the shared laughs. But Ben's rare insight reminded us that the real story often happens off-camera, in the ordinary negotiations of daily life. The "can you leave me alone for 5 seconds" moments that might sound blunt to an outsider but land as loving familiarity to those inside the relationship. Many long-term couples watching likely found themselves smiling in recognition, thinking of their own versions of separate interests that somehow bring them back together stronger. What made the moment linger for so many wasn't scandal or shock. It was a quiet dignity. In an era where every personal detail can be twisted into clickbait, Ben chose vulnerability without oversharing. He painted a picture of a marriage that works because it's built on friendship, patience, and mutual understanding, qualities that feel timeless yet increasingly precious. Some audiences began wondering whether this kind of candor from public figures might encourage more of us to drop the perfection filter and speak more honestly about what sustaining love actually looks like. The atmosphere around these kinds of revelations on morning television often shifts. What starts as light entertainment deepens into something more reflective. Viewers don't just consume the news, they feel it through the presenter's eyes. Ben's warmth, his easy humor even when touching on big life changes, made the segment memorable. It humanized him further, reminding us that behind the sharp suits and effortless delivery is a man who's also a husband, a father, and someone figuring out the next chapter alongside his partner. And perhaps that's the real magic of moments like this on shows like Good Morning Britain. They bridge the gap between the glossy studio and our living rooms. They show that even those we invite into our homes every morning carry the same hopes, adjustments, and quiet appreciations we do. Ben emphasized how Annie has made him a better dad and partner. In doing so, he highlighted something beautiful, the unsung influences who shape us without seeking the spotlight. As the conversation around Ben's words continued online, it sparked all kinds of thoughtful responses. People shared their own stories of thriving marriages that don't look like constant date nights or matching hobbies. Others reflected on the beauty of becoming empty nesters, not as loss, but as a new opportunity to rediscover each other. It almost felt like a collective sigh of relief. It's okay if your relationship doesn't fit the Instagram ideal. Real love often looks more like respectful space, shared history, and the choice to keep showing up. Maybe what stayed with viewers wasn't just a headline phrase, but everything that seemed to exist between the words. The gratitude, the acceptance, the enduring affection. In a fast-paced media landscape, these grounded, emotionally honest glimpses cut through. They remind us why we connect with certain presenters, because they feel real.